Mungyang mungyao. Mungyang mungyang mungyao mungyang mungyao. Mungyang mungyang mungyao mungyang mungyang mungyao mungyang mungyang. Meow 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 meow. Mungyang mungyao. Mungyang 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 mungyao. Hi. Hi, hello, hee hee, and welcome. Hi, hello, hee hee, and welcome to the Mimic Manor. Honored guests. I hope you brought your snackies and some treats for your seats. I actually like that rhyme. Treats for your seats. Don't forget the treats for your seats, everybody. There was a day where I could not stop doing my mungyao nyao. Mungyao nyao mungyao. Mungyao nyao mungyao mungyao nyao mungyao nyao mungyao. I just did it for like hours around Ane. And Ane's just like, yeah, this is normal. Okay, we are back for some more Higurashi. Higurashi no Nakukoro ni go. Or go? I don't know. It's different per the thing versus the anime, so whatevers. But we left off, I think, where we were about to perish. Yuzu, welcome to the Mimic Manor, my super honored guest. Come take a seat. Everybody's super honored guest. I'm just always excited when I see Yuzu. I'm sorry, I'm biased. I'm excited when I see all of you. I promise I'm just as excited. Hi, music lover. Hi, I saw you got first today. Congrats on the first. Very nice. Right, I was loading a game is what I was doing, because we were, I think we're pretty much at the end, but I do have the second game already rigged up and ready to go if we need to swap. B, don't make that face. B, I love you. B, I love you so much. I love everybody. I got really excited when I saw Yuzu. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I've always been like that when it comes to Ali Boo. Yeah, that's a better face. Look at that smile. Look at that cute little bee smile. Yeah, everybody's all smiley happy. Oh, so good. Okay, so we were home alone. And if I recall correctly, Oishi-san called us. And I guess we're running up to our room with the telephono. So I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was, since there was no one else at home.
Hello, beautiful.
Oh, thank you for resubbing, you guys. You get to see the fucking redeem the little audio bite that I said for when you guys resubscribe. That audio clip of Astarion is only available when you subscribe. Because this is Astarion saying hello to you. You're the hello beautiful this time. But hi Astral, hi Luna, welcome. Welcome to Mimic Manor, and have a seat and have treat for your seats and seat treats with the treat seats. I don't have a good welcome thingy. Like, you guys have welcome to the lighthouse. I'm trying to remember to say welcome to the Mimic Manor. But, you know. Less. Less than 3. I less than 3, you. Aw, cutesies. Eto. Also, Luna, it's 100% your fault that I've fallen back into saying eto. I used to do that all the time way back when, and then I stopped. And then now because I hear you do it, I do it. Where was I? Okay. It was the same no matter where I was, since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot where it felt just a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oishi-san.
Sorry for the wait. How are things? Any change since then? Since then? When was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked that rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke with Oishi-san was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school, I met Oishi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. Oh good, I like it's giving me a recap. Then after that, Reina and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Oishi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Maebara-san? Huh? Sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything's changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night, when my parents weren't home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely, after all. Well, Oishi-san, it seems that someone is after me. Really? It could all just be a coincidence, but that day I missed school when I was sick, the two of them came to check up on me. Which two? Dana and Mion. They started talking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have just been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. There was a hole to thread string through. Not that, Maebara-san, the needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where's the needle?
Aw, shit!
That's right. That's it! I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I had overlooked it out of terror. Okay. I should have read the whole sentence. But that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. I had certainly thrown the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. I'm pretty sure your mom cleaned that up, bro. But my prudent mother, yeah, exactly, had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? I frantically searched, running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desks, pulling up the carpet, then flapping it around, but I couldn't find that needle. Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. I rushed into the kitchen and opened up the lid of the pail and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in this pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash stack. I know. I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'll be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash with my hand. Ooh, but what if you impale your hand on the needle? Filth flew about. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned about such details. I continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. I shouldn't keep Oishi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. I hastily began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen, then dashed back upstairs where I had been keeping Oishi-san waiting for far too long. Dude, did you wash your hand, though? Wash your hand! It's all covered in stinky trash! Hello? How did it go? I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed back then, and I see. It would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right. The needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oishi-san, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at that time. Did you see the license plate? I can search for it from here. Damn! I just flipped out yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. Yeah, 'cause you're a dumb child. You dumb child! It's fine. Even if I had looked at the license plate, I would not have remembered it, so... Because I am a dumb gremlin. What failures on my part with the needle and the... What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number? Ugh. I was so focused on just protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry. I don't know much more than that it was a white van. Nothing to fret about, my Bara-san. Anyone would be shaken up after being hit. I guess all of this really isn't a coincidence, is it? Oishi-san started to hem and haw over the other end. I could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Dana is acting strange. How so? What Reina said on the way home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I could say it with confidence, that Dana knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more than just him simply disappearing. Dana knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. What would that be exactly? Dana said I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end up with the same fate as Satoshi. Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you? Transferring out, she said. Transferring out? Dana said Satoshi transferred out. So, given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Oishi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly. Maibara-san, that was probably some sort of threat. Or maybe some type of warning. I thought so too. At that point, I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened up until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of Reina and the others... Other than the theory of it being Reina and the others, I was left with Oyashiro-sama's curse actually existing and as the only other explanation. I can read, I promise. I am good reader. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Oishi-san. Except, Reina's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Oyashiro-sama's curse being real, or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all of the villagers, Dana was involved. Dana had to know something. Dana was suspicious. What exactly was Reina? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seem to recall that Oishi-san had admitted that he had dug into Reina's past a little. He was probably just downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he'd actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Reina. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among other things that were still unknown to me. If Dana was somebody I should suspect, no, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight, I was alone in this huge house.
Are you though? Are you sure, my Bara-san?
Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use brute force, they'd easily gain entry. There were no other residents close to the Maibara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I had never felt as much resentment toward my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. Oh, that startled me. I was like, where's it coming from? The front door, obviously.
God, T. I wonder if I would still be here by tomorrow morning.
So I had to ask right now. Did you not hear the doorbell ring, Katie? Was that really in my head? I had to ask right now because I had no idea when the next chance would come. I think you already lost your chance. There's someone at the door, Katie. Oh, okay. It's not just my imagination. The doorbell is actually ringing in the game. Oishi-san, I have something I wanted to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me. Sure, ask away. Yeah, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that got startled by the doorbell. Just the most mundane sound effect ever, and I'm just like, where is it? Who is it? Why? Even though he was so far away on the other end of the line, this was the most reliable he had ever felt. I wanted to ask about Nena, about what happened at her previous school. Actually, regarding Nena's... I noticed a sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock.
Hey, it is 7. It's 7 o'clock. Do you guys know where your video games are?
Mass hallucination. I love that B. We're all hallucinating a doorbell, and Keiichi's like, yeah, so Oishi-san, about my ex-friends being possible murderers. It was past the time the postman would be making a delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbor to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. Plus the fact that I had left a lot of lights on in the house to obviously make it look like some people were in fact home. Yeah, exactly. That would ruin all the work I put in making it look like my parents were home. I needed to answer the door. Hello? Maibara-san? Sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm gonna go see who it is. A guest? I see. My apologies. Should we end this phone call now? That would be a problem. No, I'll be back in a second. Do you mind if I just leave the phone on? It's fine, I don't mind. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. I needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Oishi-san did. In which case, it would be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom. I'll just say Mom isn't feeling well and went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. Hi. Come on now. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake my mom up if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at regular intervals. If someone did answer right after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and... If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I had prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mom's friends.
Good evening.
Dana. There shouldn't be any reason for Reina to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oishi-san about Reina. I wish I could have chalked this up to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me. There's nothing this old man doesn't know.
Ah.
Are you alone, Lena?
Yeah.
It seems that Neon wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why did you come here?
Hey, Keiichi-kun. I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside, I wonder? I wonder?
It was true that speaking through the chain door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house, the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it.
Then it can't be helped, I guess.
Dana pouted rather sadly, but she kept smiling at least, and in her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful.
But
Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibility that hoodlums could assault me if I removed the chain.
oh, welcome, Ane. Thank you for coming by Jimmy McManor.
God, you're beautiful.
Stop. Okay, if I removed the chain, was trusting Dana enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. Was it worth it? I'm glad it was worth it. I'm glad it was worth it. I'm glad it was worth my flustering. I was gonna say pain, but it's not pain. It's not pain.
I just don't know how to deal with it.
I was afraid of having my friendship betrayed. Let's move on. One line from Astarion and I lose track of everything that's happening. As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Rena. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get into the entranceway.
Have you eaten yet, Keiichi-kun?
No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't here, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and I didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, not yet. What about it?
Then good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes.
Dana held out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth.
If I could just use your kitchen, I can heat up the miso soup and other stuff.
It's fine. You don't need to do that.
But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiichi-kun not like that type of stuff, I wonder?
There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock roots, and potatoes. Dense and fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible.
I also brought rice, so if you microwave it, you can eat it really quickly.
Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup between ravenous bites. Oh, yeah. I wonder how wonderful it is to be born Japanese.
Also, I made some more pickles. I made sansai pickles this time. Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at them.
Or before I had moved to where did the quotation marks end? I don't know. I can't see them. Let me just adjust my glasses a little bit. Before I had moved to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables. Called sansai. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep yet light flavor. The vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. Boy, Keiichi is the definition of win him over through his stomach. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables of the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake of the sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go so well with that fluffy white rice.
Man, I want pickles now. And also,
But wait, there's more! So delicious. It just seemed so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self who said he'd make do with cup noodles.
bro, I want rice and egg. I want rice topped with a fried egg. Let's just go. Let's just make a big old pot of rice and have some snackies. Put whatever you want with it. Let's go.
Just had dinner and all of it sounds delicious, right? I might have to eat after stream because I'm getting hungry again. Nana appeared to be in such good spirits, and she was offering such delicious sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my wariness of Reina suddenly dwindled. Nana did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside. Ooh, yeah, go make yourself some rice. Let's go. Get yourself some good rice. Top it with something yummy or just have it as is. Though the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At the moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. This happy Dana, speaking of this charming dinner, was dependent on one premise. And that premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house. Meaning, it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew. Nana, did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance Dana was unsure if my parents were home, but I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Dana didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not, but there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Dana wouldn't be able to do anything to me. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon.
Huh? Is that so? Is that so?
I know you went through the trouble and effort of everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly. But some of this could work as side dishes,
some of this could work as side dishes, I think.
I'm sorry. We have more than enough already. My mom always makes quite a few sides. So...
Huh? You have side dishes?
With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her questions apologetically, but the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Reina was saying. Nana was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well.
So, Keiichi-kun can cook. What did you make, I wonder?
No, well, it's not like that. Nana had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiichi-kun?
It wasn't me who made them. My mom did. No, she's making them. Right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Dana fell silent at that moment. At that moment, I felt the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes.
How about I try guessing what Keiichi-kun's dinner will be?
It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat.
Let's see.
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Reina was firmly in control. It felt like I was being interrogated.
Your dinner! I wonder, is it something that can be made with just hot water?
Hey now, stop with the insults. I can't believe you'd belittle my mom's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity already. It's that amazing. I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grit my teeth quite right. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Reina showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness.
Keiichi-kun, did your mother really leave you dinner?
No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner, she's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Reina had taken that assertion of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Reina became.
Hey, Keiichi-kun.
At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in from the gap in the doorway.
Is your mom home, I wonder? I wonder.
I couldn't keep up this charade anymore. Dana, she knew full well that my parents weren't home. But I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here, and we'd be having dinner soon. That was the situation I had concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Dana's eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their gilded glare.
Why?
Huh? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but the facade was torn off me the instant I looked into Reina's eyes. That look, it informed me of Reina's response much faster than she could open her mouth.
Why have you been lying to me, I wonder? I wonder.
I'm not lying.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie.
Lies!
Dana's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Dana and I were still separated by what felt about what few inches that slightly ajar but still chained door could afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me.
Shall I guess your dinner, Keiichi-kun? Let's see.
I knew now that Reina had already known my parents would not be here tonight. But it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there was no way she should be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Reina said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was instant
cup noodles? That's right, isn't it?
That I was going to eat. Wait, the cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing.
I don't think you'll be full with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot.
Calm down, Keiichi, my brother. This was just coincidence. Nana was just reading certain tells of mine. So the fact that she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. He should have brought the phone with him to the door to just hold to the side so Oishi-san could have listened in. I'm just saying. If it was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that, they couldn't possibly exist.
Do you like them?
Do you mean noodles?
No.
I don't know what that is. Nana indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Maybe she was like,
No shit for brains.
and that's why it's censored, because she swore. Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Reina had spoken. Sorry, Nina. What did you say just now?
Huh? About what?
Just now, you asked me if there was something that I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That's why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Well, Nani?
Pork bone and ginger flavor.
I wonder how I appeared in the moment my mind went completely blank. I wonder how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover.
Hold on one second. Can I just, how do I... Okay, well... There. Anyways.
As my field of view began to distort, slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance. Why do you know that? I didn't even deny. I mean,
She could have seen you at the grocery store, bro.
I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Rena know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my hand against the door, I fixated my gaze on Nena. But she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that. I certainly did buy them. I bought a bunch at once. I bought a whole case. How could you know that?
Why, I wonder. Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it?
How could you dodge the question at a time like this? The chain and the door were suddenly no longer protecting me. How did you know? Why do you know? Answer me!
You bought them at the 7th Mart, didn't you?
A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade.
Facade. I never know which way to say it.
Like I said, how do you know that?
I was behind you, following you the whole time.
What are you saying? I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time.
That's because Dana was right behind Keiichi-kun's back the whole time.
Like that night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't sense her being there, standing behind the door, behind me. Standing there. Just like that?
When Keiichi-kun is picking out the noodles, I was watching the entire time. You picked out so many different flavors, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were going to pick expensive ones, then you should just pick one type, she said. Then Keiichi-kun picked out the big box of pork bone and ginger flavor ones that he loves so much, didn't he? I like it too, pork bone noodles. But I can never eat a whole big bowl myself.
My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. It might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloping my mind was cleared away. Then, I could understand what Dana was saying and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. It didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. Slowly, I took a step backwards, and as I withdrew, Reina advanced.
So, Keiichi-kun, can you open this? We can eat dinner together. I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so, okay?
Reina's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Reina didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light.
Open up. Open up, Keiichi-kun.
Please, go away. I beg you, please go away.
How can you say that? How can you say something so mean, I wonder?
Please go away. Go away. Go away! As I turn my face away from the microphone to shout. The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering. It just exploded. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked Reina momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny, disturbing bit of resistance, keeping the door from closing. And the source of that was Nana's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming through like tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack in the doorway.
It hurts. It hurts, Keiichi-kun. It hurts. Ooh.
It was a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp that she was trying to keep back. Or it wasn't a harsh shriek. Go away. Go away. Go away! I kept on pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door, at least momentarily, Nana wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing.
It really hurts, Keiichi-kun. I'm sorry if I was messing around too much.
I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything.
It hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go away. Go away! Reina couldn't leave even if she wanted to because I'd trapped her fingers. Nana's white fingers had become a deep red and were no longer even squirming. I'll find out.
That's what you want, isn't it? To be mine. Forever.
How dare you? I am so fucking lucky I didn't have both of my headphones on at that time, but how dare you? I need a second. I just 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 need a second. Oh. I I just need a moment. Ane, that's because it was meant to happen for both of us. It was meant for both of us to short circuit. I think I'm gonna need to make that more expensive. We'll see. And yes, B, I will hydrate. Here's a hydrate redemption for everybody. I'll focus. All of you benches need to drink something now. I'm just give me a fucking second. I knew it was gonna happen eventually. I didn't know how long it was gonna take until someone pressed the button, but I now have an answer. If I didn't have to go refill my cup, I would have taken a big old sippy, but brave. I'm okay. Reconnecting the wires. We have power cycled the noodle. I'm okay. Thank you, Jelly Bear, for the first short circuit.
Nosy.
All Astarian redeems are gonna have to go up in price. I keep saying that, and then I never do it. Eventually, when the serotonin from that wears off, it'll change to something else that makes me stop. But right now, it's Astarian, so it's fine. That's why it's called short circuit and not something Astarian specific. It's whatever turns my brain off. Listen. Oh my god, please just listen though. There's a reason I haven't gone looking for Fenris audio. Anyways. Okay. Stop! B, you're not helping. Oh, God. Okay, resuming the game now. I'm sorry. Go away. Okay, it's just going back and forth. I'm sorry. Okay, back and forth. I'm sorry. I have been taken out of the moment by that. We're gonna try and get back into the moment as we progress. Reina's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away. Stop it. I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Dana's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly, and I could hear the thud of Reina falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately. It made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Reina. I'm sorry. Katie-kun, I'm sorry. Open up, Katie-kun. Reina leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Reina echoing her apology. I'm sorry. Those pitiful words. They would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all. But that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Reina. Before, Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place. Nana had told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact my parents weren't home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out, not even opened the door. My meager plans hadn't helped at all. In Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Nena as possible. 1 step, 2 steps. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room, because everything's perfectly normal now. As you would expect, I was finally no longer able to hear Nena repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed? It was the receiver. I finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Oishi-san. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? I had talked with Reina for so long. How did it almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time, which felt frozen, began moving once again. Hello? Oishi-san? Sorry to keep you waiting. No, not at all. I didn't wait that long. It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Oishi-san was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something. It drove home just how far away Oishi-san really was. Dana came just now. Did she come to play? You could say that. I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Oishi-san. But I didn't need to right now. Right now, I needed to know about Rena. That's right. I was planning to ask Oishi-san more about Rena, and Rena's little visit had interrupted that conversation. Oh, my links are posting at the same time. That's weird. Sorry, it's not supposed to post at the same time, but apparently it is. What was true and what was false? I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Oishi-san about her. Up until now, I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. But looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No. Rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forgetting about tomorrow, it wasn't out of the realm of possibilities for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't. Regarding Nena Ryugu-san, I did a bit of digging. Yeah, well, it wasn't much. I understood that Oishi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're her friend. I want to know everything from your research. I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say, though. Oishi-san. I spoke as calmly as possible to Oishi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. And then, I said it. I think Nena Ryugu is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Oyashiro-sama's curse, Nena Ryugu is involved. Do you have some sort of proof that makes you believe Rena is suspicious? The manner in which Oishi-san spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. I see. I could tell that, even over the phone, how disappointed Oishi-san was. Pulling on the fishing line when he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more. That's how it seemed. Oishi-san, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there. As Oishi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine. It's fine, Maibara-san. I'll protect you. That was not the least bit reassuring. Oishi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead may be of no concern to your investigation, but it's all over for me when I die. Oishi-san went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Oishi-san was that I was currently in a very dangerous position. So please tell me. Tell me about Rena. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future, I'll probably also do what Rena called transferring out as well. But you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't even been able to find Satoshi's body yet. Alright, Maibara-san. Please calm down. I was already suppressing my agitation, even without Oishi-san having to tell me. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It would seem that I could only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect myself. Then, I at least wanted to know about what happened before Rena transferred schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Oishi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now, to me, there's nothing that I find uninteresting. Please. There are a few things I need you to agree to. Okay? Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? It might not be true. I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Rena Ryugu has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this isn't an investigation of Rena done by the police, and is a personal inquiry. Is that what you're telling me? This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls or meetings and interviews. So they aren't corroborated. I'm asking you to take this all with a grain of salt, is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of this is just from what you heard? Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. That thing. Before you said you saw Dana's chart, didn't you? I'm sure I heard you say that. Oishi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line. I told you that too? Please pretend you didn't hear anything about that. I didn't care about Oishi-san having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumors, there's no smoke without fire after all. Please tell me, Oishi-san. Understood. Oishi-san finally opened those tight lips of his.
And he spilled the beans.
It seemed that Rena lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture after she finished elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of school windows happened. Then Rena confided to the doctor.
It was Oyashiro-sama.
This was all that he knew. There isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Maibara-san. Then what part did you investigate further? I didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just after she transferred. The incident Dana was responsible for, and what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? Yes. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Dana and the others, didn't you? Yes, I did suspect them. So, they're the ones after all. No, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Huh? Oishi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Then, who did you suspect? That was Oyashiro-sama. Huh? That Oyashiro-sama's curse really exists. Yeah, right, well... Oishi-san's laugh was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Oishi-san resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance. The course of events up until the start of delving into Reina's past. Just that... Oh god, the rain scared me for a hot second. I thought something was approaching. Just then, there was thunder in the distance, and heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, so heavy that it felt like it could beat you down. I had left the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly. What is it? Nothing. It started to rain heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up while still on the phone and closed the window. Gotta get some sleep because I have an early appointment tomorrow. See you next time. Have fun. Okay. Sleep well, B. I hope you have a good rest and some nice dreams. Thank you for hanging out tonight. I love you. I said at the beginning it was an incident, but because neither the school nor the victims filed charges, the police were never involved. So you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk. Regardless of there being a victim who had one eye beaten so badly it had permanent damage. It could have been the school, or possibly some individual who made arrangements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about their professional ethics. Hello? Maibara-san? Can you hear me? Maibara-san, kikoeru? There was a figure of a person standing in the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In this shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand was the stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that at this time I was more enthralled by Reina instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Oishi-san? If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Reina, nor would I have noticed that. Reina's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something, she was repeating something. What was it? Was she repeating to me? What was she saying? And why was I right up against the window, fixated on her? Hello? Maibara-san? Can you hear me? Hello? I'm sorry. Huh? Maibara-san? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hello? Maibara-san? What's the matter? Even in this torrential downpour, Reina was still apologizing. The other self inside me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking my view of the outside. But even doing that, Reina's relentless apologies still reached my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll forgive you for this. Will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is it just gonna fill the page? Okay. God. Damn it. Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive. 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 I won't forgive. My better-san. If you can hear me, then please respond. Hello?
Hi, sorry, Gome? I'm here. Hello? Hello? Oishi-san? Oishi-san? 聞こえる? ねえ。あー。Receive new tips. Split personality and at the 7th mart. Alright. Oh. Rain of apologies falling on deaf ears is the achievement I got, but you apparently can't see it, even though I never turned that off. Alright. Split personality. Let's see what this is all about.
Gods, you're beautiful.
Come on. Double whammy? Come on. Please.
Naughty.
Also, I just realized I have the same gift set for both of them. I need to fix that.
Okay, I'm changing the way I'm sitting. I'm giving myself a posture check. Free posture check, everybody. Make sure you're not shrimp spine. Or, you know, you just be comfy.
I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly?
Shrimp.
Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, poor people imagining themselves as wealthy is a form of escapism, is it not? This is also a form of is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? No, you dumb fuck. I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. It's something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that, and some who disagree. There's no consensus. Then, is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon, something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? Unfortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope in future research.
But it's sort of cool having a split personality.
Oh my god, no, it's not. It's really not. Like, when you're younger, you think it's cool.
Because it's like, wow, cool, split personality, there's like multiple people.
But no, it's not cool. It's not cool. It sucks for that person.
What kind of people get split personalities?
Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or have an abnormal mental development. As some say that childhood abuse increases the chances.
Yeah, well, they're just uneducated. This is them becoming educated, so they will no longer say that such a mental illness is cool, because it's not cool. It's difficult for that person, and we should not stereotype it into something that is cool. This is them being educated. The TikTok before TikTok. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Basically.
Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Right after these commercials. Okay, cool, thanks. That's good. Sound effects. Those sound effects. Also, 7 different personalities? Bruh. Wasn't there... There was a movie... What was it? Split? That apparently did really good, but I never watched it. I think I started it, and then I just never finished. I started it on a plane once, I think. Anyways, let's go to the 7th mart. Is it going to be Keiichi's point of view, or is it going to be Dana's point of view? The 7th mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. What's this, Keiichi? So many! There's no reason to get all different kinds, is there? Well, sadly, it doesn't seem to be Dana's point of view. I wish it was. I flopped all the different colored cup noodle bowls into the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently, and there are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Katie, buy them in the big case. It's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Dad knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only get to eat one kind. I'd get bored with it. I was resisting as a formality. I had already given up inside and was sure which case of noodles to get. Wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mommy will pick for you. You don't have to rush me, God. I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I want. Pork bone and ginger large cup? Hey, Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavored. Pork bone is good. I don't want a big bowl of tasteless stuff.
Well, that's why you have spices in the cabinet and stuff in the fridge that you can add to your ramen, so it's not just water and noodles with powdered flavor.
I say as I was the child who used to eat dry top ramen out of a Ziploc bag when I was in school. I ate the crunchy noodle. Crunch, crunch. I can't handle it anymore, but boy, was that my go-to snack. It was good, especially the pork flavor. The pork flavor was my favorite top ramen flavor, but they don't make it anymore.
At least, not for the US.
I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. Click. Oh. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated my world. I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So, I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Lena. I rewound the situation, searching. But of course, I couldn't find her. Then, was she spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound and presences again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and nobody trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom, but there was that presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, 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 pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. I feel like I'm doing an ASMR. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Insert ASMR sounds. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat were right behind mine. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't think I had heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That's why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following behind me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I had at that time. I couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That's why it made no sound. That was all. At that time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move. As if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved. So you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? I quickly realized I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment of time. But I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck into my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What? What is this? The situation in front of my eyes. It was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juice, the way you would do an apple. My mind was being eaten. It began to munch down, slurping the juices because it was like an apple. Meaning, what was in front of me was...
Surprise. Do you guys like it when I read softer like that? Should I read softer? Ooh. Oh, that was the last tips. Oh, we're getting close to the end. If you guys like it when I read softer like that, I can do that more often. Or should I just do that only during spooky times? Continue. Just to get away from the rain sounds.
I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on the top of the futon I used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying and attack me. But if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. If sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. At some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside, but that was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains. Nana was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere, no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time, but I needed to make my own breakfast, so I better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable, so staying holed up in here was probably my safest option. But staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oishi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he nor my parents. So, unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes, just like I did every morning, and passed out. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates of any car that drives by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself. I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. All right, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength and entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run into Reina or Mion, I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the phone call and everything. If my parents came back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now, considering what would happen if I ran into Reina or Mion. It wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maibara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me.
いくよ。ニパー。
I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Reina arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Reina said nothing about last night, as if it never happened, but I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen, though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oishi-san shared about Reina's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Reina as a cute, ideal girl. Kei-chan, I see you're still aiming for the nationals. It was Mion. I had already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised. Oh, Mion. If you understand, then leave me alone. I'm busy practicing. I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing, tactfully keeping Mion from getting any closer. Hey, Kei-chan, take it easy. I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest. Homeroom's not that far off, is it? Just let me finish practicing. I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my refusal. Kei-chan, when did you get into baseball? Just recently. Recently? You mean yesterday? Don't ask if you already know. Oh dear. That's a very unsportsmanlike reply. You're distracting me. Go away. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally, she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility, but we were at school in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out. You need me for something, right? What is it? Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as I needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build up stamina, in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around with me. Well, it's nothing important. If you're tired, I can ask again later. Now's fine. I'm only dealing with you right now because I judged this situation to be safe. Talking to you alone and away from the others, that's out of the question. Well, Mian was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oishi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mian was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself out of that mire. This old man's just no good at this stuff. Having poor vocabulary hurts. What's this all of a sudden? If you have something to say, just say it. Stop it. Stop that swinging. She cut straight to the point. Her request was so frank, I didn't understand it for a moment. I had already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I? I just stopped, didn't I? That's not what I meant. I want today to be the last day you swing that bat. I'm sorry. It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat? Why? It's none of your business, is it? I'm not bothering anyone, am I? You are. Mion said it flat out. This didn't make any sense, and that was really irritating. When did I bother anybody? Mion was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke. Though she stuttered as she said it. Because, Kei-chan, that's someone else's bat. You shouldn't borrow it without permission. It was left behind by a student who transferred, right? I'm just borrowing it until he comes back for it. Huh? Yeah, he transferred. Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie. But strange, isn't it? For the older brother to transfer by himself, while his little sister stayed behind. Mian couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up. Kei-chan, you knew? Satoshi Honjo. Satoko's older brother, right? The one demoned away last year? Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent. Nana asked the same thing. Why did you start swinging that bat? She told me Satoshi did the same thing, practicing his swings, right before he went missing. So, is this some kind of omen for Oyashiro-sama's curse? Shh! Mion panicked and looked around. Please, Kei-chan, don't mention Oyashiro-sama so recklessly. I don't believe in him, but the others very much do. Nana especially. Dangerously so. Anyway, you're scaring everyone. If you're just fooling around, then stop it. You have to stop acting like Satoshi. I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it's still unsettling me that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions. I'll say this now. I don't know anything about Satoshi. After all, you didn't tell me anything about him. We didn't mean to hide it. You were hiding the incidents that happened every year, weren't you? That's because we didn't want to, You don't want to scare me? That's your reason for leaving me out? No, we didn't mean to... Mion, I asked you directly if something happened at the dam, didn't I? And you told me nothing happened. When someone was dismembered and murdered. You lied to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. Friends don't hide things from each other, right? Isn't that right? Then you all aren't my friends. Kei-chan, we... Mion looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like this. Oh, by the way, those get well mochi you brought the other day, they were good. They were good. I thought I was going to bleed. Who did it? You? Or Rena? Me. She admitted it easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was. You could have killed me. How could you do that to a friend? But it was just a little prank. Putting a needle in mochi is a little prank? Don't put shit like that in someone's food if you're telling them to eat it. Mion gave me a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me. You think that was a prank? I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle. A sewing needle. If I had swallowed that and it lodged in my throat, what did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore. Anyways, you're not my friend. There's no reason for me to listen to someone who's not my friend. So just leave me alone for a while. Got it? Mion wasn't replying anymore. It won't be that easy to erase me, you know. The cops have been on to you from the start, so don't think you can make me disappear like you did Satoshi. I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war. I think you guys are suspects in the previous incidents, too. I also know you've spent a lot of time with the cops ever since the anti-dam movement. Don't think you can hide it from me. Got that? How did you know? Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning homeroom. Let's go. The class representative needs to be there, right? At that moment, for the first time, I realized that Mion was sobbing as tears rolled down her cheeks. You're so mean, Kei-chan. I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty. I'm going. Don't be late for homeroom. I left Mion, still shaking as I turned around to head for the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself. So that's how it is. Huh? She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice that held a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her. So it was that bastard. He leaked it all to Kei-chan. She balled up her fists as her tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot in the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation, Mion's transformation, was different from Reina's. I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was going to retire this year. Retiring this year? Was she talking about Oishi-san? Damn it. Damn it. I'm going to kill that damn old man. It felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. This was the first time I'd known No, experienced such a visage. Rise? Attention! Mian made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Rena nor Mian spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Dika-chan looked me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The month since I transferred in had almost been too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join in the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be, whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. They wouldn't give me my answers. Or could it be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere, mixed in with their shrieks, Tomitake-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi, fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw a Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly. There was still much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once, as if they had huddled together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all of my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long. But in this moment, I needed to be razor sharp. I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass by me? No. Since I was able to hear their footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Rena? Just like yesterday? If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, It would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that had been beaten back once more was now waiting for another opening to come out. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. There was a bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was an axe. I hid myself behind the trees once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for an axe? There was no excuse for that. An axe just like that?
Kei-chicken, are you playing hide and seek, I wonder? I wonder?
My heart was pounding, hard enough that I had trouble breathing. What little composure I had, what little composure I had been able to hold on to now was crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
Were you trying to scare me, I wonder? I wonder.
I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still a space between us, than to allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, readied myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree.
I found you, Kei-chicken.
Rena was pleased that she found me, eliciting a murderous giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of viscous, hot and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, that substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all the organs in my body. Not good. Not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose. What is it? I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. But Rena didn't flinch one bit.
Just the same as Kei-chicken. I'm heading home.
Then what about that axe?
Then what about the bat you're holding?
I'm practicing my swing.
Then I'm treasure hunting.
Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon. Treasure hunting?
At the treasure mountain near the dam site, I found a new cute thing. So I need this to dig it out.
How could I believe that?
You wouldn't believe it, would you?
Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and that shrewd glint in her eyes, it wasn't something that roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious.
Wait, Keiichi-kun.
Reina didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Reina got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Reina, who was trying to escape. Don't follow me.
I can't do that. My house is this way after all.
When I met with Reina on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Reina didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Reina and me was the same, that's fine. I just changed my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. But Reina saw me do it and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. Why are you following me? The tone of my voice was already tinged with terror.
Because I want to talk to Keiichi-kun. Keiichi-kun wants to talk to Reina too, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I don't want to talk about anything with you.
That's a lie, isn't it? There's something you want to ask me about, isn't there?
Not at all. I have nothing to talk to you about.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie. Lies! I'm sorry, I've tried. I'm sorry. Every time she screams, I'm just like, I don't want to scream it at the mic, but I also don't want to break character, but then I end up giggling afterwards anyway, so it's just a pointless thing. I'm sorry. Nana's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace.
Let's talk, Keiichi-kun. Talk. Talk.
Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
Doesn't Keiichi-kun have something he's worried about?
Nothing at all. I'm not worried about anything.
Lies.
Even though I was running, even though Reina was walking, why wasn't I getting any further away?
I know. I really do know. You're scared, aren't you, Keiichi-kun?
I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything.
Lies.
My breathing grew heavy, and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Reina wasn't even breaking a sweat.
I'll listen. This time I'll listen.
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
This time I'll listen. It will be different from last time. Or it will be different from the time with Satoshi-kun.
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. But even as I did that, Reina was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
Satoshi-kun was worried too. It looked like he was having such a hard time. But I didn't listen. I was so sad.
Where did this street connect to? All these twists and turns and ups and downs. It was hard to believe this was even remotely in the direction of my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window.
I really regretted it when Satoshi-kun transferred out. I thought that if I had listened, he may not have transferred out. I really regretted that.
The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm.
So you see, I vowed. I vowed that if there was someone struggling like Satoshi-kun did, I'd save them. I don't want to see anyone transfer out again.
Damn it! What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up the same as Satoshi.
Come on, Keiichi-kun. Talk to me. I'll be able to understand you, Keiichi-kun. I'm your ally.
I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were about to explode, and my heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought.
If Keiichi-kun doesn't have anything to worry about, he'll go back to normal. Everyone will be back to being friends and we can enjoy club activities again. Next time, we'll team up and beat Mi-chan.
Yeah, how much fun that would be. Nana couldn't even imagine how much I had wished I could turn back the clock on those past few days.
You could be nice to me again, too. I want to go searching for treasure again. This time I'll prepare a nice lunch. Actually, we could just go right now. Let's go to the dam site together. I'll show you the cute thing I just found. I'm sure you'll like it too.
My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Dana's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Dana. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. It didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. Of all things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me, and I crumbled towards the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Dana was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Dana was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
Are you afraid of something, I wonder? It's not like you to tremble, Kei-chan.
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished me for trembling, Dana's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel as if I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Then, as both of her hands met above her head, the axe she held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do. Tell me, what happened to Satoshi? Reina stayed like that, with that axe raised above her head and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend she was never to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
I told you. Satoshi-kun transferred out.
Enough of that transfer crap. It means demoned away, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You can tell me now, can't you? Who made Satoshi disappear? Was it you? Mion? Or someone else in the village? Answer me! I became frantic the more I screamed, but Reina did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
I have no idea what Keiichi-kun is talking about.
Then I'll say it in a way so you do. Who is the perpetrator of this chain of mysterious deaths?
You seem to be confused, Keiichi-kun.
What?
There is no human predator. Everything is by Oyashiro-sama's will.
Isn't Oyashiro-sama's curse just superstition? You believe in that too?
It's not about believing or not. Oyashiro-sama exists. Period.
Dana's gaze grew even more gilled. I don't know. I'm sorry, I lack vocabulary. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything. There's just no way something like Oyashiro-sama could exist.
You don't believe in Oyashiro-sama?
There's no way I could believe it. There's no way it could exist.
It exists. Oyashiro-sama exists. Keiichi-kun should have felt it personally.
I've never felt something like that.
Keiichi-kun, haven't you felt someone apologizing to you before? Constantly on top of that?
All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Dana's voice resounded, loudly and terribly.
You see, until you forgive them, they'll always be with you. At school, at home, at your bedside.
I couldn't understand what Dana was saying.
It came to me too. Oyashiro-sama did. That's why I transferred and came back to Hinamizawa.
I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying?
Hasn't Oyashiro-sama come to you as well, Keiichi-kun? I'm probably the only one who you can confide in. I won't let you transfer out, okay?
Dana's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Reina saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night, I heard about that when I asked about Dana. Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? Oishi-san began speaking. Neither the victims nor the school filed a complaint, so there's no preliminary report. Basically, the police hadn't intervened in this matter. So all of these details are just what I heard from those involved. Meaning, it's not that credible. You said there were victims? Didn't Dana just break all the windows? No. Dana Ryugu had attacked 3 boys, using a metal bat. 2 of them made it out with only bruises, but the other one had been injured so badly that one of his eyes was permanently damaged. Wouldn't that be considered assault? Shouldn't the police have arrested her? For whatever reason, the victim never pressed charges. There was no report to the police, so They were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation. But why didn't they press charges? I tried asking the 3 male victims for their side of the story, but they were all reluctant. It's hard to say, but they were all afraid. Even after she had transferred schools. Oishi-san, could you summarize it starting from the beginning? Nana hit people while she broke the windows? Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different. On an undisclosed date, Nana Ryugu was conversing with 3 male students, close friends of hers, near the pool storage shed. Who were those 3? I can't reveal their names, but they were close to Nana Ryugu, and it seems they were a group of friends. She was the lone girl in their group. So it wasn't that strange that the 4 of them were together. So what happened? I don't know the reason why. She took the baseball team's bat that was in the pool storage shed and beat the 3 of them down, one after the other. What? There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day, after school, Nana and 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather, they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Reina underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Oh. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Oh, Jesus. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their head, she made her way towards the school building.
Oh. And that's when the windows suffered. You were asking for it, windows!
Then she broke the glass windows, one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on the scene and subdued her. Damn, I didn't know she beat the shit out of 3 other kids first. What was this change Dana underwent? What matches up in the statements from the 3 was a sudden change. The point that there was a transformation. I also could recall Dana's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Dana that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Dana. That transformation they were talking about, had it happened before? No, there was nothing like that. As far as I could find out, in her medical history and past, there was nothing like that. Does that happen often? Where people suddenly changed like Nana did? Of course it does. There are plenty of psychological phenomena that can cause something like that. Then you're saying there was a dormant element in Nana that caused that transformation? I cannot say for certain. But according to the statement of her friends, it's hard to believe she had such a side to her. Kind, caring, and adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in the school like she was now. That girl transforming suddenly and assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I myself sometimes believed that I was mistaken for thinking that was Reina, even now. Then, what happened after that? There was a hospital right across from the school, so the 3 of them were carried in and treated quickly. What about Reina? What about the police? Why wasn't there a criminal investigation? You see, the police can't get involved unless they are called. Even though one was badly injured with permanent damage? Why didn't they file charges? That's what caught my attention as well. Either some threat or pressure was placed on them, or they had a reason they couldn't file charges even if they wanted to. We're talking about you after all. Of course. Wait, we're talking about you after all. Of course you looked into it, didn't you? Well, yeah. But I told you at the beginning, didn't I? That the victims were all very reluctant to talk. They didn't want to touch on the matter, or rather, they didn't want to get involved. Reluctant to talk. Didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse. Did the teacher at school tell you anything? A school is hallowed ground. You could say they tend to keep scandals under wraps. I didn't have a search warrant, so I had to tread lightly, you see. Then, there was no comment from the school? No. They denied the incident ever happened. It's just 3 male students were carried in for blunt force trauma that day. That's all there was in the hospital records. The victims didn't speak. The school denied it happened. Then you don't know anything at all. Yeah, I know nothing other than the incident itself had taken place. The victims also wished this incident to be kept from the public. So if you and I both forget about it, Maibara-san, then this incident will probably just fade away. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by roiling waves, sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with. After that, she was suspended by the school, and during that time, she underwent psychiatric counseling. Did you hear anything from that doctor? Again, they were very professional in regards to their ethics, or at least very tight-lipped. Nothing even after you showed them your badge? I was told to get a warrant. That badge itself has no legally binding authority, after all. Then, how did you know that Reina confessed that it was Oyashiro-sama who did it? There was a nurse I had asked in that department. She agreed to help me just from showing her my badge. Then, what did she say? Turns out that the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently, all that she remembered was that what she overheard from inside the room. The nurse said that at the time, Reina Ryugu was very calm and mild-mannered. It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than at a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through, her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between just the doctor and Reina for a while. The part with Oyashiro-sama, when did that pop up? Partway through. She screamed the name suddenly. That startled the nurse, and that's why she started listening in. It was Oyashiro-sama. Reina suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what was said before that, so I had no idea the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Reina to have a seat. What is this Oyashiro-sama you speak of? Gently, ever so gently. The fundamentals of counseling were believing what you were told. Whoever abandons Hinamizawa will be hunted down by Lord Oyashiro-sama. And they finally gotten to me. That's the town you lived in before you moved here, isn't that right, Ryugu-san? I didn't want to move out, but because my mom and my dad's circumstances, we had to. But Oyashiro-sama wouldn't allow it. Ryugu-san must have had lots of friends in Hinamizawa. Even now, you must be missing them dearly, don't you think?
I want to go back. Back to Hinamizawa. No, it's not that I want to go back. I have to go back. I should have gone back much sooner. But now it's too late. Oyashiro-sama has come.
Oyashiro-sama is the name of the god in Hinamizawa, isn't that right?
Everyone knows. It's Hinamizawa's guardian deity, not garden. He's not a garden gnome, he is a god. And if you ever try abandoning Hinamizawa by leaving, you'll incur his wrath.
You had moved quite a while ago, didn't you? Then it was just now that this god has arrived, is what you're saying?
You might not believe me, but Oyashiro-sama exists.
That nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. And that was all she remembered. That was Oyashiro-sama's doing, right? I do believe there's that kind of superstition in Hinamizawa, that if you leave the village, then you incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath. You should be familiar with this part, Maibara-san. I knew very well what those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. Then, the following year, Satoko's parents, supporters and leading advocates for the dam, were cursed to their death. But this was the first time I'd heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village. This is my first time hearing that. I can't understand outside... I can understand outside threats being cursed by the village, but why also villagers who leave? Normally, people who leave villages aren't supposed to be cursed, right? I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that some people who come in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder, curses weren't something to chase after people that leave, were they? Oyashiro-san pondered... Oyashiro. Oh my god. Not Oyashiro-sama. I'm sorry. I can read. Oishi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end of the receiver and then began speaking again. If it was Oyashiro-sama speaking on the other end of the phone, I'd be very concerned. Well, I told you of long ago when Hinamizawa was called Onigafuchi, didn't I? I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of ogres. Onigafuchi. The villagers at the foot of the mountains worshipped the ogres, so Onigafuchi was hallowed ground that you could never enter. It came to be said that if you entered carelessly, you were cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Those who set foot and you just blink and read. Those who set foot in Onigafuchi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that. I know that. But for leaving to also be no good, that's also the ogres, you see? They were being strictly watched by Oyashiro-sama, so they would not enter into our world. In other words, Oyashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between Onigafuchi and the rest of the world. I see. I finally understand what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was. So basically, Oyashiro-sama is more like a warden than a protectorate demon. Demon, oh my god, I can't process words, I'm sorry. A deity, I guess, trying to keep this place isolated from the rest of the world. I guess that's how it would seem. I'm sorry I don't know very much myself. This is mostly what was passed on to me from my grandmother. I could understand a bit better if it was like that. Those who came into Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So, because Dana originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed. So that means because Dana moved away against its wishes, she was cursed. She was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Is that what it adds up to? In short, that seems to be what it points to, I guess. As a matter of fact, soon afterwards, they did move back to Hinamizawa after all. Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and having been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one person disappearing on the day of Watanagashi. I didn't like saying at most, though. Well, anyways, there's a lot I still don't know. Even if it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, it doesn't add up as to why her classmates, the victims who were beaten with a metal bat, wouldn't press charges. You don't think the victims were cowering because they believed that a terrible curse had befallen them, do you? Of course I didn't want to believe it. But more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Dana made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi also had become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. Then, Dana as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which she had used at the time of that horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. And finally, me. I had encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding on to a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Dana? There was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Dana was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally, me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Dana, Satoshi, and finally, me. Could it be that I was really under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? No. More importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Dana was fine. Fine? Dana had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Dana residing within her. And here, right now, it was standing before me. Dana, please tell me, what will happen to me? Dana stood imposingly, not answering.
Satoshi disappeared.
Oh, Satoshi disappeared, but Reina didn't disappear. So, what will happen to me? I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
Don't worry, I'll save you.
Nana took one step forward, still holding the axe high above her head.
Now then.
One step closer. Nana's face spread out to fill my vision.
Speak.
One step closer. Nana's nose was almost close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer.
There's something you want to say, isn't there? I'll listen. I'll save you, okay? Speak, okay? Speak, okay?
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Nena. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end. Because when that laughing ended,
Do you like my laughing, Yuzu? Do you like it? Am I good? Am I good at doing the crazy laugh?
the moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet. Oh God.
The text disappeared. It startled me. Okay, thank you. I was hoping that the laugh was good. I used to practice doing crazy laughs.
I sprang to my feet so fast even I couldn't believe it and pushed Dana away with both hands. Dana was as light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the axe, she was sent backwards as if she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner... Oops,
I didn't mean to do that. Wait, go back. I was trying to change my face.
After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Get away from Reyna. Run away. Survive. I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I'd been holding onto a bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't survive. I could hear the laughter of the simulacrum of Reyna coming from behind me. It rang through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity.
Get home and call Oishi-san, please.
The grove of trees thinned out, my field of vision suddenly expanding. Where was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery. I felt I knew, but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized it was the dam site. The fact that I dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. This was a terrible spot for someone on the run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles in my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Dana wasn't there. Instead, I saw two villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Dana, but a third party. Except the voice inside me rang out the alarm once again. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious in and of themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk, but at this time of day, two adults wandering around without purpose, it was enough to raise questions. But more than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. I was at the end of my rope and had finally... was I at the end of my rope and had finally started imagining things? I should run away. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Reyna would catch up with me. That's right. I was going to run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I had jumped to the conclusion that Reyna was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now, I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oishi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me without even turning around because of their frantic footsteps. It was frightening, being unable to shake Dana off as she slowly closed in on me, but this didn't even compare. Being pursued with such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began to move again, they'd be right on top of me. On top of me, and then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg or the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right. Left. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped and suddenly spun. What? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms ready to grab me, instead grasped at empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been, and faced me in astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Reyna. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. What do you want with me? Next one's going to be right in your face, you bastard. It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab onto my bat, and the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body. Then I just have to settle it with the first move. I'd step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right, who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, then it was probably that blow that would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a fist right into my gut. No good. Not good. With this distance, in this position, and in this state, there was no way for me to dodge it.
That sounded like a cannon.
The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll.
Well, that's why instead of taking a swing like a bat, you shove the bat forward like a javelin and you either bop them in the face, or if they are of the masculine body, you bop them between the legs and in its noodle. Either way, you get a reaction, and then you have an opening to swing. Just saying. I know how to fight dirty. I am a gremlin after all. And I'm also dropping my chapstick. Excuse me. Okay, chapstick recovered.
I landed in the soft soil without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from the abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it made it all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach at full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled, or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision was simply darkened, and a silent, whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake this arm off me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back.
And this is where Reina comes in with the axe and stabs them, right?
Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with the phrase that adequately described my situation.
Oh. And we're out. Or not? Hello? Katie? Are we dead? What? We're home? Wait.
A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally, there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot throughout my entire body.
Feeling all right? I think you better just lie down for a bit.
Why was Dana in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Dana's smile belonged to the Reina I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed, thinking this was just that this version of Reina was safe. Why am I...
Don't you remember?
After losing consciousness, nothing at all. My body had become more lethargic than I could have ever imagined. I guess that would be an expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
I called the doctor. He should be here soon. I think you better just lie down until then.
I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor, but knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring. Why am I here? I'm sure I was at the dam site.
That's what I want to know. What happened? When I got there, Keiichi-kun was already passed out.
That's why I'm the one who wants to know. I was attacked by two weirdos. As I talked about it, I finally remembered what happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Reina to be nursing me. I thought Reina was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health. Amazing you could drag me all the way back here. Wasn't I heavy? Looking at Reina's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Did she have some help?
Don't you remember, Keiichi-kun?
Reina appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile.
I only propped you up on my shoulder. You said you could walk on your own and that you were fine. You don't remember?
I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness. What about those two?
Huh?
When you got there, Dana, the ones with me, or rather, those two guys.
And there wasn't anyone.
She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at the time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Reina. But if I did that, then this kind of Reina might transform into the scary Reina who I didn't know. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both of those men were there, I don't think Reina would even have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Reina was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly. Yet, I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something. Something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Reina was still Reina, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oishi-san. Reina stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep. I'd like to go to the bathroom, though.
Sorry.
Reina couldn't say anything else.
Reina, please excuse me. I need to tinkle.
While Reina stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. It must have been the doctor Reina had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call, but it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oishi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption and regretted it almost instantly. Mion! Oh, you look just fine. I heard you collapsed, so I came to check up on you. How did you know I collapsed? I heard from Reina over the phone. Do I need any other reason than that? I understood why she would call a doctor, but why Mion too? Reina was descending the stairs behind me. Reina, doesn't Kei-chan look pretty alright? Sheesh, you made me worry for nothing.
That's true. Maybe I worried for nothing as well.
They both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming over them. Whoa, what's up with this shoe rack? How did it get like this? The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday. Uh, I fell, you see. And the bat I was holding at the time slammed into it. This is what happens when you swing around something you're not used to handling. I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself.
But leaving it like this will really startle your parents when they get home. I'll fix it up for you later.
Now come on, Kei-chan. The terminally ill need their rest. I'm sorry, terminally ill?
Who are you to decide that I am terminal? Excuse me, ma'am, are you a doctor by any chance? If not, then how the fuck do you know I'm terminal? I'm terminally gremlin.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mion, where is your PhD? Take a sip of water from my throat. Okay.
Come on. Come. Back in bed. Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oishi-san.
Rip.
I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Dana. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary. Nana, did you call the manager?
Yep. Right after I called Mi-chan. He said he'd be right over.
Manager? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Nana called a doctor, then called Mion, and after that she called a manager? Who was this manager? Since Dana and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd. What are you two talking about? Who's this manager? You didn't know, Kei-chan? We mean the manager when we say the manager. Okay, but who is the manager?
Like the director of a movie. Or like a foreman of a construction site.
Wait. I dug through all of my memories for a manager who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Reina had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident. The dismemberment and damn construction site. The foreman? But that was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. What does that manager have to do with me? You said he was coming. Did you mean to my house? I asked one obvious question after another, but all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly, I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside of me. I couldn't understand what Reina and Mion were talking about.
Kei-chan, you've gotten into baseball lately, haven't you?
Or Kei-chan.
Sorry, that's Mion. Mion says Kei-chan.
I'm pretty sure the manager would be happy to hear that.
Oh, the manager of the baseball team.
So, who is this manager?
The manager is the manager.
So who is this manager? Nana and Mion looked at each other and laughed haughtily. That disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. my god, please.
I'm sleepy. Why are we not at the ending yet?
That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly. Oh, yeah. Well, we should finish up before the manager comes. You remember, don't you, Kei-chan? Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story. Remember what?
Keiichi-kun, had he forgotten, I wonder? About the penalty. About the penalty.
Did you really forget? The homework with the mochi? The homework where you were supposed to guess which one Nena made? You forgot about that homework, didn't you? I certainly did have that homework, but I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found the sewing needle, so I wasn't able to answer which one Nena made. The penalty for that? Why now? No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible. Being chased by Rena, attacked by strange men. The penalty Mion and Nena were talking about. What were these two laughing at? It didn't take that long for me to realize I'd been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Nena and Mion? Nena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back? What are you doing?
Don't move. This is your penalty.
My body was already very sluggish, and Nena pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized this was well beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength. It would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they?
Kei-chan, no struggling. Club rules. There are no exceptions. You can't fight against the penalty.
Mion. No. That thing that looked like Mion spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion.
Need to finish this up before the manager comes.
Mion fished into her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What is that? It was a small syringe. It was a small, clear syringe, like what a doctor would use when you went to him when you were sick. Nena held me even tighter, and I could hear the clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter. It wasn't something that Dana and I could ever produce, something that the Dana I knew could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Dana, was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and the needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times. Don't worry, it won't hurt, it won't hurt. What are you planning on doing? What kind of sick joke is this?
What are you saying, Kei-chan? You know exactly what's going on, don't you?
About what? I don't understand any of this at all.
I know you know. No use in playing the fool this late in the game.
Stop talking nonsense to try and confuse me.
You're going to have done to you what happened to Tomitake-san.
What? The same as Tomitake-san? I didn't really understand what she meant. What did that have to do with this syringe?
You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun. You should have realized it by now. Oh, it was Reina. Sorry, hold on. You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun. You should have realized it by now. Reina whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare.
Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean the same as Tomitake-san?
Everyone thought at first it was a hit and run, except when the police officer got close to check if he was still alive. He soon noticed it wasn't a normal situation. His throat was scratched out.
From a knife or something?
No. Nails.
Nails? Nails as in fingernails? With those gouged through.
That's right. Tomitake-san had clawed out his own throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that.
So then, for that to happen,
we thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of that nature was detected. That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tomitake-san's system.
the police told me they didn't find any drugs in Tomitake-san's body. I guess that's a laugh.
Quack, 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 quack. Pathetic human. Oh, it's the two of them laughing together. Okay. The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume such a medicine didn't exist was just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning, the drug that caused Tomitake-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist? If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tomitake-san. Become hysterical, scratching out my throat in the last moments, and then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist. For Mion to be holding it, and that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him? Just give up. All right then. Mion's actions lacked any gravitas, and that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard on the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. Oh. Are we coming to the
was happening.
Oh, a scene transition. Okay. We're very close to the ending. We're gonna push through.
I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on my clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Nena wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be all of it was a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. I was certainly with Dana and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was just a hallucination. Neither Dana nor Mion. They would never do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained a deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had a bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Nena. That same Nena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down with this metal bat. I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. What? Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? That's right. Keiichi Maibara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There's no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? But the blood... The blood, there's so much. Neither Dana nor Mion had moved an inch. It was just a split forehead and a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. It wasn't just a split forehead. Oh my god, I can't read, I'm sorry. I'm ruining the moment. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me that this didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. Were they dead? Both of them? the depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface, I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once, twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision, and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened when I blacked out. Here we go. Lena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tomitake-san. But right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Weep. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside myself had told me not to look and had turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes, was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls and on the... oh my god. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out on an imaginary scale, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. The proof was all here. The two of them collapsed here, and Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitake-san. And from the fact that both of these two were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this, but that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into the darkness like Lena's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'd probably revisit their investigations on the chain of incidents. Oishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning, my wish. of not wanting to die, of wanting to know the truth. That would be fulfilled in its most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The doctor Dana called should be getting here soon. I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oishi-san. At that moment, I remembered. Besides the doctor, a manager had been called. It was easy to imagine they were someone deeply involved with the incidents, judging from Reina and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest, caused by the gruesome deed I'd done, dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maibara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I had heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door. Pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would rush in all at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van. No mistaking it. That van. The one that had tried to run me down? The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, he'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I needed a weapon. Then shoes. But before all of that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why there was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I needed to get that clock out quickly and take down the note behind it. Damn it. The tape was sticking to it fast. I'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened it up slightly and I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If it wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Nana and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the managers from the past incidents, then the only one is the first construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death, but Nana and Mion did both call him manager. They said manager. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who is dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I don't know. But even if I didn't know, it could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of the string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please investigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder this right now. Oh, yeah. There's something even more important that I needed to write. Tomitake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right. That drug was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. Firmly. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore, but even still, there was one last thing that I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I'm probably already dead, though you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write out everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away, you who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Reina and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Reina, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. Why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go, or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying and in competitions, in personal records, and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them, but they wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life, even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. Or could it be those happy days were all a facade as well. Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today, to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they were my friends. Those happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Rena and Mion, they were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Wait, they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends, regardless of whether or not they were forced. There was no way such a thing like being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then, did the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake. Only the reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rena and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever or whatever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion, I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes, and the doorbell rang again as if to urge me on. Behind this single solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen, headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly so as not to make a sound. There he is, the back door. A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi. One after another, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever, so of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran, just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. That presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like a shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran at full speed.
Go, go, go. Run, Keiichi, run.
That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something, and then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. 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 I felt that only the Higurashi knew.
I'm sorry. Nope, scene transition. Higurashi no naku koro ni.
Run from the truth of your crimes is the achievement I just got. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about 1/10 of the municipality's revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of the municipality, so I really wish they'd show us a little more respect. Is this Oishi-san? Why would you discard the 5 manzu there? It's just decreasing your options. One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with the mahjong magazine called Next Turn. You're still in tenpai after you cut the 5 manzu? If you're betting on a haite, then shouldn't you be going with a mangan? I've never played mahjong, or at least that version.
I've played the computer mahjong as a child where you match the tiles together and then they go, okay, good. Now pick out the other 2 that look the same. I played the pick a pair.
Kuma-chan, you look at the pond. They all discarded a 5 manzu. It's a safe tile. You'd hate it if, at the end game, someone was sitting on a tenpai on the last turn, wouldn't you? The kid let out another groan, put out his cigarette, and then took out another one. I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options? By the way, you can't call run with your winning tile in that haite. What? Why is that? Just then I heard a voice coming from down the hall. Are you here, Oishi-san? You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? Well, see you soon. Why can't you call run on it? Oh, hold on for a second. Oishi-san. The man sitting in the seat Oishi-san was headed towards waved at the telephone receiver. Outside line. From a payphone. Oh, why thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oishi. Who is it? Oishi-san. Hello? Ah, if it isn't Maibara-san. Why, good evening. From the tone of Maibara-kun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time Maibara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone. Please calm down. Did something happen? Well, His voice was erratic over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone. What happened? I... Calm down, Maibara-san. I can have the local officers head to your location. I'll be there soon, too. I think that's impossible. His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? Maibara-san, you're calling from a payphone right now, right? Where is that payphone? There were no other sounds besides Maibara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague, sitting across from me. Hinamizawa, phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on internal lines. Calm down, Maibara-san. What's your current situation? It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking to do so, but this was not a usual case. Maibara-kun didn't just get into trouble. Maibara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maibara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Maibara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes. That's too long. How many officers are in there? 2. Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Maibara-kun. 5 minutes was too long. Did you call the officer stationed in Hinamizawa? He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it'll be impossible to contact them. God damn. Kuma-chan, bring the car around. Understood. Hello? Oishi-san? Hello. It's all right. I can hear you loud and clear. There was something wrong with Maibara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured? Maibara-san, the police are on their way. They'll be there in a couple of minutes, so hold on somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Maibara-san. I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head. Maibara-san, who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought at first the culprit was human. I couldn't tell if that was a cough or vomiting. Are you all right, Maibara-san? I thought that the culprit was a person, and not Oyashiro-sama's curse. Up until right now. But I guess in the end, it was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting. But I guess Oyashiro-sama does exist. No, he's here. Maibara-san, please. Just please calm down. I had been thinking it was strange for a while now. It's been following me this whole time. I run and run and run and run, but it just sticks to me like my shadow. But slowly, so slowly, It's digging itself into my back. Maibara-san, are they, right now, perhaps, right behind you? Behind me. Right behind me. Please, Maibara-san. I can tell you're scared, but please, who is it that's right behind you? I can't just look behind me. If I do, I'll... I understand that you're scared, but please tell me. You just need to turn around a bit. Who is it? Who's behind you, Maibara-san? Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Maibara-san, it couldn't be that you're clawing out your own throat? There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Maibara-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over the other end, and a repeating, abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Maibara-san? Hello? I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment, I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there? Hello? Maibara-san? Rather than whispering it, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up on what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep. Suddenly, the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind. Oishi-san, the car is good to go. Oishi-san? It was... I'm sorry. Oishi-san? That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. I should have been able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. July 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, Reina Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, kitchen, and all had traces of a struggle. At the entryway, the shoe rack and the wall had evidence of being impacted by a strong, blunt force. It is believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There is the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It's hard to believe that this had been a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart and its contents spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had for some reason taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, was there a needle, were written on it. The meaning behind this also remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Though the garage door was functional, it had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. Ah, local PD. At the time of the discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicate the immediate cause of death to be hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed out his own throat with his fingernails, resulting in bleeding to death. With similarity to the death of Tomitake-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, but suspected drugs were involved, but was... Oh, God, it's going too fast! Would prompt... They suspect it was on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it's possible that this was premeditated. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed to be displaying aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have overheard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, police have begun an investigation on the possibility that the crime was not committed on impulse but instead was planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets of B5 college rule notebook, and each had been torn in half, as if trying to conceal what was stuck between... It was stuck behind the clock. The contents were written as an appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further development to the case... God damn it. However, the following year, suspicions arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from the traces of large quantities of cellophane tape stuck to the back of the clocks, speculation something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was detective rumored to have a connection with the incident, Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning but denies involvement with the damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Keiichi Maibara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Reina and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all on the first sheet. Everything below has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. Everything above this has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though the only difference may be the presence or lack of... of a body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Keiichi Maibara. So they tore out the part about the drug that was used on him and Tomitake-san. I don't believe he did, because, unless he kept it secret. Because there was no mention of it before. Also, hi, Soul. I think we're just about done with this first chapter. Oh, yep. There we go. Higurashi. Welcome to Hinamizawa. Ooh, a new scenario has been unlocked. An all-cast review session has become available in the extra section. I don't want to do a review, actually. I'm okay. But that's it. Please uncover the truth. Complete the Onikakshi chapter. There we go, you guys. There we go. We finished it. We finished the first chapter. That means next week we can start chapter 2. Yay! Oh, what a good ending. I wish that last part kind of, went a little slower so I could have read everything in a timely manner, but auto progress, I guess. It didn't give me the option for that. Been lurking since the scene with Mion and Rayon. Oh, all right. Well, I'm glad that you were able to hang out for such a while in regards to that and listen to me stumble over all of my reading. But 4 hours. We managed to finish the last bit of it in 4 hours. That's not bad. We made some good progress on this game. Next week we can start chapter 2. Or we could do like a double feature of Deathmark since it will be the last week of Spooktober. But I plan to do the whole week of at least spooky stuff. So, I might put that as like a vote or something in the Discord server or up on Twitter or something. But we can figure it out. Tomorrow is going to be more Deathmark. So we can always check it out then. But I'm going to go, I don't know, play some Final Fantasy 14 because I got to do my raid run before the reset hits in the morning. So, get that out of the way. But thank you guys for joining tonight for that beautiful end of the first chapter. I thank you for hanging out with me. The fact that you guys are hanging out was the reason why the stream was so fun. Listen, it's always fun with you guys around. Oh, thank you. I mean, it's okay if you wanted to step in and say hi, but I do appreciate wanting to keep the scene going. I probably would have done the same thing in your shoes too if I was in someone else's stream. So, I get it. Oh man, but Deathmark tomorrow. Don't forget tryptophobia trigger warning. Also bees. Lots of bees. All right. Let me just swap over to ending soon. All right, guys. You have a great rest of your night. I love you guys. Sleep well, and have good memes if you're going to sleepies. And I love you guys. And mwah. Night, guys. Bye. Bye. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I love you.